Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Kris Miller. I invite you to join me as I interview artists from a variety of disciplines. We'll share powerful stories and lessons learned while making their art. Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Kris Miller, your host. I'm glad you're here with us this morning. I'm so excited. I'll be honest, I just got off an incredible painting experience. You know how that is when everything just flows and it's wonderful and you just feel so high on that creative flow. So that all ties in with where I'm at today. I wanted to bring someone in today that I've known for a long time. A very long time, and in so many different ways. And this is Kris Hundt, and she is a Dallas, Texas-based photographer. So I met Kris. I'm going to segue into her bio here real quick, but I met her years ago as I was running my ad agency, and I would call her in to do photo shoots. But her claim to fame, she says, is specializing in portraits of people in their environments. She approaches each portrait as a collaboration with her subject, drawing inspiration from the personal connections as she forges during the shoot. Her editorial images have been published in all sorts of national magazines, as well as annual reports, advertising, World Wide Web, you name it. What's really interesting about Kris is in the last few years, she started expanding her creative tools and moving a little bit beyond photography. And she has played with things like mosaics, paper art, mono printing, and even knitting. And we'll have to talk about that, Kris. We'll have to talk about that. So good morning, Kris. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. I've been so excited to do this with you. And like you said, we've known each other for ages, and it's a relationship that has grown and blossomed from working together to truly becoming friends. And I love that.
Oh yeah, did I know you before we adopted Blake?
Yes.
Wow. So
Yeah.
some of my listeners might know this. I shared it in my last podcast, and I apologize for not having a podcast out in a couple weeks, but my son was going to college. So this is my only child. I took him to college yesterday. Very emotional. And I think every parent can understand this. It's a mixed feeling. On one hand, you're like, yay. And on the other hand, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much part of my life, this child. And there's that empty nest syndrome. So that has been on my mind. And it kind of kept me from doing a podcast in the last week or two. And that is exactly why, Kris, I brought you in today. And because I really want to talk about fun. And I know that I spend so much time in my book, The Spiritual Artist. On this podcast, I talk about meditation and being calm and consciously aware of your thoughts. And I talk about skills and techniques and mental control. But you know what? And I'm going to share this. I just had that, I was painting and oh my gosh, it was just flowing through me. This incredible sense of fun. And Kris, if there's anybody I know that does fun better, I don't know if I know anybody that does fun better than Kris. So I wanted to use that as a starting point for how we talk. I want to share with my, I don't know if you remember this, Kris, when I would call Kris in to do photography in a corporate environment, she would be with the camera and get it all set up. And she's so good at making people relax. And I would stand behind her and I would be chatting them up, right? I would be trying to calm them down so that they would relax into it and release that. Do you remember all that, Kris?
I don't, but but we always had fun. I mean, yeah, you always hire beautiful people, very creative and fun people, and I just let them be who they are. And that's what makes a good photograph of people, is to put them in a state of relaxation and just let them interact and be who they are. Don't try to make them something else. Turn this way, do this. That doesn't, that doesn't really bring out the essence of the person.
I think that's a wonderful sentence, just that let being who you are.
Yeah.
I feel like actually when I was painting this morning, I feel like suddenly things are clicking. I know this sounds weird, suddenly, right? I've been painting for 20 years, and 20 years I've been painting, and there's a combination of technique and letting yourself go. And I just had a really wonderful experience where both of them came into play, right?
Yeah.
And it is important to let your be who you are, right? To
Yes, absolutely. I never wanted to grow up. I always wanted to be Peter Pan, always, because I just loved the idea. He always had a good time, whatever he was doing, and he just did whatever he felt like. Now, don't mistake. He had responsibilities. He had the Lost Boys. He had Wendy, but he still had fun amongst that, and that's what I try. That's how I try to live my life, and I think I succeed.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, we just have the best time. So when you have someone in front of the camera, because this is where your creative tool is being a photographer. Um, how do you connect with them like that?
I don't judge them. I just open myself up. I become vulnerable, and it gives them that space.
Oh,
And it's something that I think I've always had. I don't know how to teach it. I've had many people ask me. I don't know. I'm just open to whatever is. I mean, I've photographed some people that refuse to smile, and that was okay. Letting them be them really brought out who they are, even if it was a no smile, grumpy face. That's who they truly are, and that's what they wanted to portray.
oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's lovely. I should share with you. A couple weeks ago, I come from a very critical background. My family was very, that East Coast kind of sarcastic, cynical. And so
Same.
yeah, same, right? So I taped up on my mirror a little sign that says, "See without judgment." And to remind myself, yes, I tape things on my mirror, folks, but to remind myself that it's okay to see what's there. It's okay to notice that that person is grumpy. But if you can take it that one step further, right, where you don't judge them for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, letting people be who they are and meeting them where they are. It leaves you open to so many things. I love to travel, and I travel to countries where I do not speak the language, but I manage, because all it takes is a smile and a thank you. I always learn how to say thank you in any language, any language. And that's all you really need. The rest of it is natural. I mean, I've communicated with people over a guitar song. I communicate with people in all kinds of ways. It doesn't have to be with their language. It's in your body language. It's in the smile that you have. It's in that openness to share with me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I should share with the readers that I didn't finish her bio. And so I'll share it real quick. Kris is an avid traveler, which she is. Ever since I've known her, she's always off on the road doing something. And she likes reflecting the life on the road through images. And so it says here that you've been to Egypt, Israel, Guatemala, UK, Ireland, Italy, Peru, and the Andes Mountains in Ecuador.
Yes.
That's just
Name
overseas.
a few.
Yeah.
There's still the long list of places I still want to visit.
And so when you don't know a language, how far does a smile get you?
Pretty far.
Really?
I could give you for instance. I was in France, and I was trying to go to this museum. I had my map, and I could read a map. I just couldn't find it. I asked this police officer. No, he didn't speak English. So I'm sitting on this park bench, apparently looking forlorn. And this woman comes up to me and says something in French. I'm like, I don't speak French. And she goes, "Are you lost?" And I said, "Yes." Now, in that case, she did speak English, but she sat down with me and we chatted. And she goes, "Oh, I'll take you." She goes, "It's a mile away." And we're talking, and she points me, "That's the metro you'll get on." And she said that her bridge club, she had to leave me, but half a mile down the road is where I needed to go. And she said, all us French people need is a thank you and a smile. And I found that to be true.
Wow.
And it was just, it's one of the best things about visiting other countries, that connection.
You know, every time I do another interview and think about some of the concepts that I had put in my book, they're so universal, right?
Yeah.
Because I talk about gratitude, and gratitude is very important. And I believe it's a portal to creativity. And when you say that, you know, when you just show gratitude.
Yeah.
And so these people.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably have 100 stories like that one. Just people, I did meet a woman in Guatemala. I was meandering. I was not lost, but I didn't know where I was at. I knew where city center was. That was all that was important. And I walked past this nondescript door and I heard this guitar music. I was like, oh my goodness. And I walked in and this woman had this shop and she's playing guitar. And I'm like, oh, Bellissimo, this is beautiful. And she looks at me and then it was just me and her. She hands me the guitar and I'm like, oh crap. I was like, I only know one song on the guitar, Puff the Magic Dragon. And let me tell you, I played that with all the heart I could manage. And she just clapped and cheered. And then I handed it back to her and some song that she played, one from her village. And it was just phenomenal. And for that 15 minutes, no one else in the world existed. And that was our connection. There was no other words.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a get out of jail free card, Kris.
Uh-oh.
One of Kris's concerns is that she's a little flip with language.
Yes.
And so I just want you to know it's okay. And I'll give all the listeners a heads up. If you slip a word in there or two, I don't want you to hold yourself back.
Okay. Good to know.
So, which leads me to another story to share with the listeners is Kris is very good with social media. And back when I started the Urban Artist Market, she would come and teach classes. And
that's right.
And remember, yeah, you would teach Instagram classes, and some of these words would flip out.
I do caution people at the beginning of most of my classes now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, tell me about this because I've seen this. I see you teaching classes. And I had you even come into where I'm working and teach a class to some seniors. So
yeah.
Tell me about teaching. What?
I love teaching. I never thought that I would like to teach. I never thought I knew enough to teach somebody else. Because for me, art it's pretty. It's like, I just want to make pretty, whatever that is. But I found that I really enjoy sharing with people and I get so much inspiration from others. And I think it all started with you actually giving me the opportunity to teach Instagram. I'm like, oh my God. And I spent hours making sure I knew all the answers. And then I realized that I'm never going to know all the answers. And you just say, I don't know. I'll get back with you on that. And you do. And that really freed me up to do more things. And I don't have a particular style with my art as far as I'm concerned. I like to dabble in so many different things. If I see something that's fun, oh, I'm going to try that. And I try it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. People are going to love this. And then I work out some way that I can teach it to them. And I skip from things to things and I go back. Photography has been the thing I've been at the longest, without a doubt. But even that has changed so much with digital. And I do not want to be a digital artist where I sit behind my computer all day long. I want to be out and be with people. So I do a lot of fluid art stuff at the moment, trying new things. And social media is my friend. I reel after reel after video. I kind of get lost in it sometimes.
Oh, I do too. That's a good segue for me to tell about that. I have moved this podcast over to YouTube, and you can listen to any one of these interviews on YouTube and actually see us talking, see our faces.
Woohoo!
which come on, I mean, you don't want to miss
I
Chris's
know.
hair.
Dude,
You've
yes.
got to check
It
that
rock.
out.
I rock the house.
This goes with the whole Peter Pan theory here, the Peter Pan theme, right?
Yes, 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 definitely.
So that's so wonderful that you can do that. And I think you're great at it. I've always loved having you come and teach because everybody just has such a good time.
I think that's my goal. And not that I really think about it, but I think in my heart of hearts, I want people to enjoy themselves and have fun and to let loose and learn something and just play and experience and just be.
Just be.
Yeah, let them figure out whatever it is or not. I've always loved creating and using my hands for creating things. And I didn't have any, my parents really weren't into art and didn't really understand any of that. And and so it wasn't until I was out on my own that I started discovering how beautiful the world is and how beautiful that everything is art. Everything is art. And everyone is a creator. You know,
Mm.
people are like, I'm not artist. Artist is not just a painter. You know, and I think you might have talked about this in one of your recent podcasts, is art and creativity go hand in hand. And a street sign is a creative endeavor. Somebody had to design that. Whether you think it looks good or it's art, doesn't matter. It is, in my estimation of things. But yeah, I went off on a tangent. I don't even know what I
No, I
was
love
talking
it.
about.
I love it. I love it because I do believe that. I think what I really believe this is that I like to remind people is everybody is a creator. And if
Absolutely.
it's whether you're conscious of it, are you aware of it? And do you take action? And we create? When taking my son to college and setting up his dorm room, that was creating. I created something. Going and cooking in the kitchen, you're creating. And so you might feel intimidated. I sense a lot of people like this. I'm sure you have this when you teach. People are afraid, right? They're
Oh yeah. Oh, this isn't any good, and this isn't. But it is. It's inspiring, and it's so easy to give compliments to people. People get so caught up in their head instead of letting it flow through their heart and just flow through them. You know, when you're in your head, you criticize, you stop yourself. And so, and I try to make it fun. We laugh a lot. I believe laughter can heal almost anything. I do. If I do not laugh 100 times a day, it was not a great day.
I love it.
It's true. And I laugh at myself all the time. And I think being vulnerable, and if I show people vulnerability, then when they start to do art that they're uncomfortable with and start to show their vulnerability, they feel more likely to, because I'm open to it and letting them do it. And it's not as scary when other people do it. Like when a dance floor is empty, I'm always the first person on the dance floor. Once one person is on the dance floor, it fills up, but it takes that one person.
It's funny. You're right. It does. Everybody stands back and stands back.
Yeah.
And there's this momentum, right? One person
Yeah.
will go out there, pull someone out with them,
Yeah.
and they'll go out there and start dancing. And then suddenly, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you're right. It goes back to what we were saying earlier, is to see without judgment, you know, when you're creating, and if you go in there and say, turn that off, that judgment does not serve you.
No.
In flow, when you want to be creative and flow, right?
Yeah.
But laughter does, huh?
Oh yeah. It does. Well, it's a beautiful icebreaker.
It is.
It is. And you know, if I say a cuss word, people relax. I know that seems weird.
Oh, I love
But when
that.
I say fuck, which I say a lot, it's my favorite word. It comes out sometimes I don't even realize it. But when I say it, it really actually relaxes people. You know, it breaks down. It's like, oh, I have to be prim and proper or a certain way. And when I open that floodgate, Oh boy.
Huh.
It's amazing. People that looked so uptight and prim and proper start letting it flow. And it's like, see, if you don't judge them and you give them the space, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, I love that. And it's not like you're saying you have to swear to be with me, but
No.
you're saying, look, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I'm a human, and we're all human, and just be who you are and
Yeah.
relax.
Yeah.
Chillax, right?
Chillax. Oh Lord. You're showing your age, dude.
I'm always showing my age these days. My son will say these terms. I'm like, what are you, what?
Yeah. What does
Right?
that mean?
What the heck does that mean? And they looks at me and he won't even explain, which is even more frustrating.
Oh, that is frustrating. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. That's an interesting way for you to look at the swearing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to create that, let that go. And so when you're using these, what are you attracted to right now? Like what, I've seen you doing all sorts of cards and collage, but what's your current go-to discipline?
I don't have one. Truth. I've been sick for a while, and so I haven't been able to get into the studio. And I've just kind of let my body heal, which has
Right.
been very difficult because I like to get up and go and do, and my body's like, oh, hell to the no. And you're just like, okay, okay, okay. So what I want to do is get into the studio and actually clean it up, because what happens is I go on the road. I go to wherever people want me to teach. I go to people's houses to do art parties. And so I'm always ready to go, but I have all these tubs and I've just done a couple classes. So I've kind of thrown them in the studio. So I need to organize them and then start creating again. It is fall and I hope to do a few fall festivals. I don't know if I'll be ready or not. But I'm into the whole, you've been talking about flow lately, and I'm really into the flow art. Been doing some alcohol inks that have just been really fun. And just try to play with paper. And I have a lot of friends who donate things to me. Like I have these leather pieces that somebody says, oh, can you use that? And I'm like, oh, maybe. And so it's kind of whatever is in front of me. And then I play with, but I also am thinking about Valentine's Day. I know we haven't got to Christmas yet, but I'm thinking about classes I can do for Valentine's Day. I've been doing a lot of origami since I've been home and haven't been able to get into the studio. I have been doing some origami. I'm doing origami Christmas trees and bats and hearts. And I think I'm working on making them little earrings. Not there yet, but my brain is always working on what can I make and then how can I sell it. Yeah.
I like those origami you did. I think where they were balls.
Oh yeah, the Christmas balls. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to. Okay, now I do have fails on occasion with teaching, and this one in particular, origami has come extraordinarily easy to me, and I didn't realize how easy. When the first time I did it, I was like, oh yeah, I got this. And this one particular, it's a Christmas ball that has 30 pieces to it. So you have to fold the same fold, which is, the fold has like 13 folds to it. I should have known better. But then, so I tried to teach a class and everybody got the folds right. Took everybody a while, but they couldn't put it together. And everybody still talks about that class. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, such a fail. And they said, but we had fun. And at the end of the day, they talk about it, but they talk about it in such a genuinely lovely way that it was okay.
Right.
And I love that. We joke about it, and I'm just like, oh goodness. So, but I didn't beat myself up. I was just like, oh, well, this is harder than I thought. I will come to your house and finish that ball for you.
Did you do that?
I did to a couple of people, yes.
Did you?
Because I wanted them to go home with something, you know. So yeah.
But that is too funny. So the lesson was that it was just too complicated. What was that?
It was too complicated. Origami is not as easy as I thought it was. Because things that are easy for you are not easy. Graphic design is easier for you than it is for me, for sure. Like it's something that I have to work at a lot. So origami just became extraordinarily easy. And I just had no idea it was hard. Oops.
I don't know if you're selling your origami class right now, but
no, now I do origami with one sheet, not 30. So, we did Christmas ornaments a couple weeks ago, origami, and everybody did a fantastic job. Yeah, and they had fun. They all got to take home stuff, and yeah, it was great. So yes, I found simpler, whichever. Origamis to do. And Valentine's Day, we do origami hearts that are just beautiful, and everybody loves that class. I'm going to try to do it a couple of times before Valentine's Day.
Do you have a website that shows where you're teaching?
It does. Right now, I've got no teaching engagements set. I'm working on some places all over DFW. I do a lot in East Dallas, but I do want to, McKinney and Plano, Irving, kind of just spread the love.
Right.
So.
Well, I will put that, if you have an address that I can put in the bio here, people can see that.
I'll send it to
hunt you out. So let's talk about this failed class.
Oh goodness! Of all things you want to talk about.
Let's unpack this.
All right, let's
okay.
Go ahead. So, ask your question.
So, well, I agree. Every experience is you learn from, and I think an artist, a spiritual artist, should realize that there is no failure, right? There's no. Even if you sit down and you work on a project and it's a disaster, it's the journey and what you've learned through it.
Right.
And so obviously for you, I mean, you still kept the energy where it needed to be.
Yeah. Yes. And you're right. It was a disaster, but it wasn't a failure. We all learned, we all grew, we all had a good time.
Did you serve wine?
It's BYOB, so there were a few people, I did have one woman go, I can't do origami without Jack Daniels.
Oh,
like, okay. Go ahead. I don't know that helped her at all, but she thought it would, so.
Hey, whatever. So when you say you focus on fun, do you have a story? Have you ever taught a class where you just have a really difficult student? Someone that just will not join you in fun?
Oh, that's a good question. I did have an experience that was fascinating. It was this woman won a raffle and got to have a class. And I happened to be teaching the class that she wanted, which was fine. I didn't know her, it didn't matter, but all her friends were there, and they were so quiet and prim and proper, and no joke, no antic, no anything I did really spurred them in any way. Like emotionally, they weren't there. And at the end of that, I felt horrible, because I had just come off of a fantastic class, the same class actually, with a different group of people, and we had a blast. And these women, I had no idea, it was like 10 women, and I had no idea if they enjoyed themselves or not. And it was a bummer for me. Like, I was really shocked, and I never figured it out. I don't know what it was, or she had anticipation. It was like, I think she was trying to throw a party. She was hosting the party and everything, but I was the entertainment, and which is fine. I can entertain, but I just didn't have the right skill for this group, which was surprising because I can talk I can talk to a homeless person or a millionaire, and and it's no different to me. They're people. They're beautiful people with beautiful souls. And so that was probably the hardest class. I got through it. I taught them. And apparently she really enjoyed it. I heard later, but but I didn't.
That's funny. I remember Terry telling me my husband used to be in a theater, and he told me that when they got the biggest complaints from a patron, it was always when somebody brought a guest. Because see, when they come alone, they let go. They can let go of any need for something. But when they bring their friends, suddenly it's about them. And if for example, if the show has a swear word in it, well, this is a comment on me.
That's exactly right. And I think that is what happened, because it was normally my classes are just people from all walks of life coming in. Sometimes I know them, sometimes I don't, sometimes they're return students, what have you. But it's a mixed bag. But all these were a specific set of women who all knew this one person. So I agree with you. Sorry. Oops.
Well, I think it goes back to that. You have to turn off the judgment. You have to be vulnerable, like you were saying. You have to let yourself be vulnerable and admit that you're not perfect, that like we were talking about teaching, you don't know everything. And in order to get into that state. So let's talk about you a little bit, because I love this idea of how do we get here? My book is talking about how do people get into flow, but how do you do that? Like, say you're going into a class and you're not feeling very fun. Say you just had a bad day, or maybe you're not feeling well. How do you approach that? I'd love to challenge you.
You do love it. You have challenged me a great deal in the time that I've known you. And sometimes I cuss you out, and other times, but at the end, I'm like, yeah, I needed that. So what was the question? I got carried away on my own mind.
The question was, have you ever been felt yourself not in the right place?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have a trick? What's your trick? Like, to share with the listeners, what can you do when that happens? Or several things, I guess.
The great part about it is I get energized from people. When I'm with somebody, introverts, they're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And all these people around. And for me, something clicks in and I'm like, I could dance all night at that point. So when I've had a bad day, I just take in the vibe from around me. I don't, it's hard to explain. It is like turning a switch. It's like, Kris, you're here to do your job, connect with these people. And I've been self-employed well over half my life. And the thing is, there's no sick days. I have worked when I should not have worked many of times. The only time I didn't do a job was when my mom died, and I called another photographer to do it. And in turn, we have the same birthday, same year, everything. And in turn, a couple years later, he called me because his mom died and I did his photo shoot. It's just a beautiful thing, but that's
sad. Yeah.
Yeah. But I get to do this. I get to teach people. I get to be in a room with people and play. What's not happy about that? And so it's just realize I get to do this. People are paying me money to sit here, talk crap, and to play. Play with art, make innuendos and whatever it is, and just enjoy yourself. Teach them what I know. Let them teach me what they know. and just bring people together. And creating in a group of people is so much fun, because somebody will do something and I'll say, hey, look at this. Isn't this fantastic? I never thought of doing this. And they're like, oh my God. And then other people, I just go around the room and it just, they brighten my day.
So one of the things what I heard in there, one of the things I heard is that you take, when you're not feeling well, or you just take the focus off of you and you focus on the people in the room.
Exactly. And people are amazing. They really are. I love people. My best friend does not love people. She's like, I hate people. How are friends? How are friends? I don't know.
I thought you were gonna say, I love people. My best friend is a people.
Well, that too. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, you're right. I focus on them and focus on art. I mean, how can you not play? How can you not have fun when you're playing? Because even when you're teaching, I'm teaching art, but it's play. If they don't get it, it doesn't matter. They've created something.
I love that. I love everything we're talking about. I think if it was a process that I went through in realizing that for me as an artist, when you can stop focusing on your intent to make something pretty,
yes,
and focus on the feeling that you have in general, right? Just where am I? Where is my consciousness right now? It all works out. And
yeah.
yes, sometimes you'll have a day in the studio and you look at it, you go, oh man, I'm throwing that out, right?
Absolutely.
But if you were present and you were
Yes.
and you're having fun and just letting it flow, it was success.
Yeah.
And we all, I think artists, we fall into that trap where someone will walk in the room and go, what is that? And you just say, I had fun.
And that's it. And I think you talked about in a recent podcast as well, that when I focus personally on making art to make money, one, it's not as fun. Two, it's generally not as creative. So letting loose and flow and not thinking about how much money can I get on this, just play and see what happens. And
Exactly.
let it flow.
I think it goes back to the spiritual lesson there is when you focus on the result, or when you focus on money, or when you focus on what people think, which that woman in your class, it takes you away from the creative process.
Right.
Yeah. And so you really have to focus on, and I love this, the spiritual connection, your connection, whatever you call that connection with, and this is not about names, it's about the connection, and I see that every time we do something together, we do a project together, it's always so fun, and you just step into it,
Yes. We do have so much fun, no matter what we're doing, whether we're stuffing bags for your market or whatever it is. But that's it. If you find the joy in everything you do, what's not to be happy about? Do I like cleaning the bathroom? Hell no. But if you find the joy in it, because I'll be happy that it's clean.
So you're like that commercial, I'm using Tidyville. And you're
oh my God, I can't believe we're talking bathroom. That's so us though.
Of course we are. But the point being, you're right. If you can make it, if you're okay, I'm going to clean the bathroom. Well, I'll play my favorite music.
Exactly.
Right.
Do a little dance while
I do it. Or I'll have a friend over, we'll clean the bathroom together.
Yeah.
Or if just angle it differently, approaching it differently.
It's changing the thought of what it is, cleaning a bathroom, but cleaning a bathroom. I mean, it's on the attitude. I have a friend of mine who's like, I choose to be happy. And she is probably the happiest person I know. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And when we get together, it's like you and I, we just laugh and giggle and joke. And yeah, life is beautiful.
Wow. She's happier than you?
Well, maybe we go hand in hand. Hard to say.
Oh my gosh. So tell me, this is just a personal question I've always wanted to ask you, because ever since I've known you, you do always like to travel.
Yes.
Why? Why do you like to travel so much?
I didn't start traveling until I was in my 30s, because my parents didn't travel. We didn't vacation. We didn't do anything. I mean, we stayed in Texas. I never traveled outside of Texas until later in life. And I'm glad I didn't travel when I was younger. I was a bullheaded American. I'm going to say it. I was set in my ways. I thought everybody needed to speak English and then I realized it's a lot of negativity in my house. And I grew up with that. And so that was what I knew. But when I left home and really started to find myself, I realized that's not who I wanted to be. So I just cleaned up my life, got rid of all the negative in my life. And that was a lot of friends. And I just created a new life for myself. And then I realized how much I loved people and wanted to just travel the world. And opportunities just kind of fell in my lap. Hey, do you want to do this? I had a friend of mine who was getting a divorce. He goes, I want to go to Amsterdam. And I'm like, okay. So I drove to Houston, got my passport, and a week later we went to Amsterdam. And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'm all yours. I don't care, because I love an adventure. I love to learn. I don't need to have a set schedule. I like flying by the seat of my pants, which is how I do my art and my photography. It really is, and I loved Amsterdam. And then I got a photo job where I was gone like 18 weeks out of the year all over the country to photograph conferences and meeting all these people and just traveling. And I realized how much I loved it. And then my chiropractor is like, hey, we're doing a medical mission to, where was it? Is it Ecuador, maybe? I don't remember where it was. And she's like, do you want to come? And I'm like, sure. And so people just started inviting me. And then I realized how much I loved it. And people are like, do you travel alone? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh my God. And I'm like, it's not that, it's not all that. It's, because you meet people along the way. I mean, I was on a flight. Where was I? Not Jordan. Maybe I was Israel. I was on a flight, and as I was leaving, this guy is like, hey, we're standing up waiting for our luggage. Hey, how's it going? What are you here for? And he's like, I'm meeting my brother, my niece and nephew, da da da. And I'm walking around the streets, and there he is. And I'm like, oh, hey. He goes, you were on my flight. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, have lunch with me and my family. We spent the whole afternoon together. And I just love the randomness and the beauty in that, but that's being open to what is. So, wow. Yeah. And then I just got the bug and I really loved it. And I invite myself on trips. I have some photo students I've had for probably 5 years now, and they're on and off. I teach for 6 weeks, and then they do their thing, and then another 6 weeks, and then we meet up every so often. We've become really good friends. Well, 3 of them were going to a wedding. It was their daughter's wedding and best friend's wedding, and I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, we're going to be in Italy, and I was like, I was in Northern Ireland. I was like, I could meet you. And so I invited myself to Italy, and we spent, actually, I think the picture that I sent you was of the Colosseum, and I was with them in that trip, and we traveled all over, and I just kind of tagged along, and there was 8 of us, 4 20-year-olds and 4 adults. and we had the time of our life. And that's just kind of how it happens for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So that you just kind of let it just unfold, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, I love it. I love it.
yeah.
I'm not a big traveler. And
Is
I
it
think,
the
go ahead.
creature comforts or?
Yeah, I think, I just get a particular and I'm like, oh, I like my pillow and I like certain things, but I've learned to take things with me when I travel,
Right.
to pack a pillow if I need to, or I wear earplugs when I sleep and all that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
Um, I don't mind, but I agree with you. I love being alone too. It's nice to be alone, you
Yeah,
know?
there's something about it. It's though I do like traveling with people, but you have to be careful who you travel with.
Sorry about that. My phone is like going crazy.
No worries.
And never does that, but suddenly. All right, there. And I always tell people, turn off your phone.
I did turn mine off, which
I know
is
you did good.
rare.
And I'm sitting here, I didn't think it was in the room, right? And suddenly I'm like, I hear this beep, 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 beep. I'm like, where are you? Where are you?
I did see you and I was like,
I know. I'm
what's
like,
that?
what? I can't, literally cannot even see it. It's behind me on a shelf. And anyway, so I do like to be alone, and I find that to be a really, really good therapy. But to me, it sounds like when you travel alone, you're really not alone because you
That's
do
true.
reach out.
I do. I meet people everywhere I go. And I meet people. I was in an airport and headed to, where was I headed to? Egypt. And this family kept staring at me. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, okay, like whatever. And so I ended up having to walk past them. He says, excuse me, where are you from? I said, oh, the States. He's like, well, where? I said, Texas. It's like, where in Texas? And I was like, in Dallas. He said, really? He said, my best friend, he goes, do you live? And he named the street. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, my best friend is your next door neighbor.
Ooh, that's creepy.
It happens all the time. Everywhere
Really?
I travel. Yeah. I see somebody I know or somebody that knows me from someplace. Yeah. It's crazy. My life is random in a beautiful way because I let it be. I don't try to control it. Like I said earlier, it's not that I'm not responsible because I'm quite responsible. And yet I leave a lot to chance and to just open up to see whatever flows my way or I stumble upon.
Wow. I love that whole sentence that you just said. I think that's why I had such a great painting experience before this call is I'm learning even more every time I practice. I'm learning to just let it flow and just be okay to what happens. And so to me, fun painting or experience is when I just fill that time without like I'm not trying to draw something and structure it out. I'm not trying to imitate something. I'm not trying to repeat something. I'm not trying to make it look like something I did before. And I just feel it and react and feel it and react. And so
Exactly. Yeah.
you just said that, that's kind of your modus operandi of life, right?
Yes. Yes. It
Be
works
open.
for me. Not everybody can do that, but that's what makes us all individuals.
And I think everybody should work on. I don't think not everybody. I agree with you. Not everybody can do it, but I think everybody should make that a goal to learn to just listen to that inspiration. When someone walks up to you, talk to them, smile at them, say yes. That I love that saying. Just say yes for one whole day. Go through the whole day, and just say yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's hard,
It is
right?
hard. Yeah. But it would be a great personal project. Like, and I say this every time we talk, and you're like, oh, but you challenged me with my photography. I kind of felt stale, and you said, well, what personal project are you doing? I'm like, I don't have one. And you're like, find something to photograph the same thing and photograph it every single day. And I'm like, what the hell? Nope. And then I got to thinking about it and I thought, well, let's do something. And so I decided that every time I drive over the bridge and I pass Reunion Tower, I photograph it. I used to have a sunroof, so I would just take my phone. I don't anymore. Now I do it through the windshield. But every time, rain, shine, day, night, doesn't matter, I photograph Reunion Tower as I go by when I get on to 75. And I've done it for 5 years now? I have hundreds of thousands of pictures of Reunion Tower. And so I post some every once in a while, and Reunion Tower likes it. And I was just like, oh, nice. But even anybody who's in my car I'm like, give me my phone. Get it ready. Because they all know that that's what I do. And it's like I don't want to stop now. It's become such a part of who I am. But when I first started doing it, I was cussing you out a lot. Because I want it to be perfect. I want it to be right. Photography, you want it to composition, the lighting, the everything. And this was the one thing that I realized: you were doing a drive-by photo. It's like, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and let it be that way. And I was like, wow, okay. And so now, no matter what, I get all these reflections, and sometimes, but I get some beautiful images too. And I'm like, damn, I did that. But it's refreshing. It's fun. It's different. It's so different from what I generally do photographic wise. And so that is my playtime.
Yeah. That learning to see something over and over again and just let it be, there's so many lessons in that. We should tell the listeners, this is something they can do with, everybody's got a phone, right?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful activity to just do this week. After you hear this podcast, decide on something that you're going to take a picture of every day, at least for, I don't know, eternity.
Well, but start for just a month. Now, I didn't do it every day. My deal was, because I didn't see it every day, but every time I drove over that particular bridge, that's when I would shoot it. But sometimes I go over that bridge 3 times in a day.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's great to just let loose. There's so many different things you could do, shoot from the hip, shoot. People don't look up and they don't look down. They kind of focus right here. So if you take your camera and change the position, I've got a friend who does what she calls up shots, and she just takes her phone and turns it and then just takes a picture of whatever is.
Oh, I love that. Of the sky?
Of the sky,
whatever's
trees,
above her.
Sometimes her face, because she's walking and she's not, but you don't see it. Or shoot from the hip. Just take a picture, and don't look. And it'll be something that you probably didn't even notice, which is also a beautiful thing. Because the world kind of gets away from you, because we get so stuck on focusing on your phone. It's true. I was getting my new tires the other day, and the manager of the tire place says, he's like, oh, look at all these magazines. I was like, oh, I love those. Da, da, da. He said, nobody reads them anymore. And I didn't realize it. He goes, everybody is on their phone. And I turned around, and the whole space, they weren't talking to each other or anything. And I was just like, oh, that's so sad.
It is sad.
It's sad. Yeah.
I think at least if you do this project, although you'll still be using your phone.
Yeah.
But it's making you look outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I did for years, I still do it, as I take a picture of my feet.
There you go.
I do. So I have pictures of feet on the beach, feet in the water, feet walking down the street, feet, you name it. Right.
Yeah.
I have these pictures of my feet, and it's funny because I'll look back and I'll go, oh, I remember those shoes. I love those shoes. Right.
Yeah.
But we don't really even look at our shoes very often, do we?
No, most people don't know for sure. Yeah. So it's just interesting that we get whatever is just at eye level.
Right. So that is a wonderful creative project for the listeners, is to take a camera with you, pick something, anything, right? And I love that idea of just laying
And
it
then
down and
send us,
shooting.
I want to see the pictures.
Oh yeah, send the pictures or post them into the
Post
YouTube
them.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
would love to see those.
oh, wouldn't that be great to see what they take?
Yes.
So I'm sorry I drove you crazy with that assignment, and it's probably turning
But
you into an OCD person.
you know, I'm so grateful that you did.
Well, thank you.
Like I said, at the time I was not. And because I racked my brain, what can I do? Oh my God. Yeah. But then it's like I said earlier, it's just become part of me and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, and I love what you said, how you just, you're so used to setting up a shot, making it perfect and getting the lights and all. For
Yeah.
you, it was a lesson in just letting it be what it is,
Yes.
right?
Which is easy for me to do in everything else, but photography, no.
You're right, because that's where you got
Yeah.
your rules, right?
That's where I got my rules. Yeah.
You,
Everything else. Yeah.
I keep trying to marry the two when I paint, between that free flow and the tight, as you can see the picture behind me, I love tight lines, but the painting I just finished is sort of like this, but not, it's very loose.
Yeah.
And my goal is to bring both together, being present, being loose, but there is some structure. And I think we all have a structure in us that comes out, like when you're teaching, whatever we work on, like when you talk about the flow painting or the fluid paint, you're going to approach it, and it's good. Whatever you have, your creative DNA is going to come out in that project.
Right.
And that when you teach, like you have 20 people doing the same thing, and
Yeah. It's all different.
They never look alike, do they?
No, but that's the beauty in it. I love that. It really is inspiring to me, because it's like when I go to the movies or to the theater or anything, going to a museum, is I have my own filters and the way I see things, and having somebody else there. I love afterwards going and having a coffee or whatever and just talking about it. What did you get out of it? What did you see? Because we don't see the same things. We all have different filters. And it's beautiful, because that piece of art or that movie just expanded for me, hearing what other people saw and got out of it. Why are you laughing?
No, I just love that. I love that. You're right. We all have our own. I love how you phrase that. It's so photographer-ish. You said we all have our own filters, and that's such a lot. That's a lesson in life, really, because we look at life with our filters, and those filters affect how we see the world. And it's so funny how some, like you went to that class, and truthfully, that woman she very well might have had a really great experience,
right?
But your filter was saying, well, when I have a good experience, I laugh and I smile and I do these things. It was just the fact that she had her friends there, maybe, who knows, or that she didn't smile. Maybe that was her filter, right? Look, I was prim and proper in front of my friends. I had a great time.
Yeah.
So I think that's just wonderful. We do have our filters. And then when you talk about that, kind of through this whole chain of conversation, when you're taking the picture and the camera assignments, it's about playing with that filter and seeing it, seeing all the different things you are, right?
Yes.
So, well, this has been a great interview. Is there anything else you want to share that I didn't cover? Dun, dun,
Is there
dun.
anything else? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. I wish that I had some wonderful inspiration to share with everybody. Just be open to what is, and enjoy where you are and what you're doing. I think that's the best that you can get out of life.
Be present.
For me, be present. There you go.
Just be open to what is, and just not without judgment, right?
Yeah, be open to what is. Exactly.
Wow. Oh my gosh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'll have to take one of your classes. I was never good at origami though, so I'd be the one in there like, what the heck, right? That's not in my creative DNA. So it's been great having you on here, and I can't wait to take one of your classes.
Thank you. No, it's been a blast. I appreciate the opportunity, and I always enjoy our time together.
All right. Thanks. I wanted to share with my listeners that this is also a bit, like I said earlier, this is available on YouTube now. And I have been doing something new lately on my podcast, which is I do these interviews, which I love because like you talked about, I love people, right?
Right.
And I always learn about how they view life and the way they see things. But I've also been doing these short little feel good, I call them little art chats. So listeners, let me know, do you like the art chats or would you rather the interviews or do you like a little bit of both? And you can do that. You can private message me, or you can actually post it on YouTube under the comments section, say, oh, I want more of these or not. I enjoy sharing ideas and inspiration. You know, Kris, when I'm in the middle of a creative project, that is when the ideas come to me. When I'm sitting there painting, suddenly all these wonderful ideas and thoughts come to me, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, check it out. Follow me on YouTube and continue listening to the Spiritual Artist podcast. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Kris.
Bye.